this all started out, as I said, in 2019. The Dutch farmers' protest began at this time, and it was in October 2019 in response to a new carbon emissions reductions legislation that disproportionately impacted farmers. So, of course, 2019, that's when a lot of carbon emissions limits were coming out in terms of taxing, not in terms of legislations of tailpipe emissions, but in terms of taxing. This is very important to note. This is also taking place in other places such as Canada. This is where I'm from currently. So, what happened next is that in June 2010 of this year, the Dutch government unveiled more extreme measures targeted directly at the agricultural industry. Farms next to nature reserves must cut nitrogen output by 70%. The Economist reported. So 70% reduction. About 30% of the country's cows and pigs will have to go, along with a big share of cattle and dairy farms. So 30% cows, pigs, they gotta go. Where do they go? They don't say that. They just have to go. Now, let's just put a. So I'm reading this article right here, and it's called from FEE.org. It has a nice little backstory of the origin of the protests. So, in response to this, about 40,000 Dutch farmers protested outside government buildings and the homes of ministers and drove hundreds of tractors to blockade food distribution centers, including warehouses and grocery stores. Throughout July, the movement spread to Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, and other nations, each with farmers taking to the streets in repudiation of the government's measures to reduce the scale and output of the agricultural industry. Now, this is something that, of course, is becoming most notified in Netherlands, in Holland. However, again, as this article points out, it did spread to other nations. Why? Because these are legislations, these are policies that are going to come down to the rest of the world. Canada's talking about it, other nations are talking about it, and as a result, everybody around the world is paying attention. So let's just analyze what the claims are. Actually, before that, I want to go into another piece of disturbing news. And actually, one thing to point out before I say that is that so some of these protests have led to gunshots, they've led to fires, they've led to people getting hurt, and it's led to some extreme violence. So this is definitely ramping up, and people are starting to be very displeased with the government.